In the 20th century, there was no sport more popular in America than Major League Baseball. Yet every team was located in the Northeast and Upper Midwest, and not a single one had relocated since 1903. But after World War II, as the population shifted more west and south, the 50s became a mad dash to different cities. One team looking for a new home was the Philadelphia Athletics. The A's were one of baseball's early dynasties. But by the 40s, they struggled to stay out of last place. Then by the 50s, the Phillies, with their recent trip to the World Series, overtook the A's as the city's favorite. Then, after Connie Mack, their longtime manager and owner, stepped down, the A's were in need of a new owner and a new home.
Kansas City is a brawling, lusty city that stands defiantly on the shores of the Missouri River.
Kansas City sports editor Ernie Mell had tried for years to bring a team to Kansas City. And after failing with both the Braves and the Browns, the A's became his new target. But he needed a wealthy partner. So he went after Chicago real estate investor Arnold Johnson. Johnson already had ties to Major League Baseball, owning both Yankee Stadium and Kansas City's Municipal Stadium in 1953. And as soon as he came on the scene, Mel finally saw his chance. In 1954, Johnson was convinced and purchased the A's, bringing them to his stadium in Kansas City.
Kansas City puts on a big league welcome for its brand new big league team, the Athletics.
One sterling star is Harry Suitcase Simpson. For the Athletics, who were transplanted from Philadelphia to grow strong and sturdy in the rich, fertile soil of the mighty Midwest.
Throughout its entire history, Kansas City only ever had 3 professional sports teams. 2 of them folded within 2 years. The other were the Monarchs. One of the Negro League's original teams, they were a powerhouse, with players like Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, and Buck O'Neil. But by 1948, Major League Baseball had desegregated, and the Monarchs became a strictly minor league team. So, when the A's arrived, they were met with a hungry fan base.
Kansas City proves its baseball pride by queuing up for tickets whenever the A's are in town. In the first 2 years of its membership in the American League, the club each year drew more than 1 million fans into spacious municipal stadiums.
Even though they weren't that great on the field, the city was just happy to have a baseball team. And no one expected them to be great right away. But after some questionable trades, Johnson's close ties with the Yankees started becoming more apparent. Over in New York, the Yankees were owned by 2 people, Dan Topping and Del Webb. Topping was involved in team operations, while Webb was involved in league affairs. And Del Webb was the most powerful owner in baseball at this time. A businessman that earned his wealth in construction, building a number of Las Vegas casinos. The MLB commissioner at the time, Happy Chandler, wasn't too thrilled his most notable owner was a gambling tycoon. So he tried numerous times to curb his growing power and influence. This war eventually led to the ousting of Chandler by the other owners, and Webb handpicked the next commissioner. In 1953, he sold the 2 Yankee real estate properties to his vending machine business associate, Arnold Johnson. And when Johnson moved the A's to Kansas City, it was Webb's company that expanded the seating capacity of Municipal Stadium. Arnold Johnson soon became one of Webb's most reliable partners, and that partnership leaked onto the field. Between 1955 and 1960, Johnson and Webb's clubs were responsible for 16 trades with each other. No one was even close to them. The most egregious of these was when the A's traded their best hitter to the Yankees, Roger Maris. All he would do in New York is win 2 MVPs and break Babe Ruth's iconic home run record. These trades sabotaged the A's, keeping them in baseball's cellar, while keeping the Yankees perennial championship contenders. The 1961 New York Yankees are considered by many to be one of the best teams in baseball history. 10 players from that team were former Kansas City A's. But then everything changed in 1960, when Arnold Johnson suddenly passed away. His family put the team up for sale, and it was purchased by Charlie Finley. In one of Finley's first moves, he installed fluorescent lights in the dugouts so fans could have a better view of players. During a game against New York, a Yankee player found the hidden switch and turned off the lights. Finley, noticing they were off, sent an electrician down to fix the problem. As soon as he flipped the lights back on and left, the Yankees switched them off again. So the electrician returned to flip them back on, and as soon as he left, the Yankees turned them off. Finley finally relented, but after the game, he removed the switch and told the Yankees if you want him off, hit him with a bat. He was an owner the complete opposite of Arnold Johnson. He was outspoken, a massive baseball fan, and he despised the Yankees and the seemingly preferable treatment they got from the American League. In his first 2 years, Finley would change the team colors to gold and Kelly green, change the uniforms. He changed the mascot from an elephant to a mule named Charlie O. He'd install a mechanical rabbit at home plate to deliver baseballs to the umpire. And he even had his own pregame show. He'd fire his first manager halfway through his first season. As the two were at each other's throats over Finley's excessive micromanaging. But even with all these changes, the team's performance stayed the same. And by 1962, attendance was cratering.
Professional football, that most fascinating, most exciting of all spectator sports, came to Mid-America in 1963 when the Dallas Texans became the Kansas City Chiefs.
To lure the Chiefs, Kansas City gave owner Lamar Hunt a $1 a year lease to play in Municipal Stadium. Outraged by the offer, Finley demanded he get the same deal. And after initially agreeing, a brand new city council refused. So he threatened to relocate the A's to Oakland, California. But because he only had one more year on his current lease, the AL denied any move. Then in 1963, the A's finally improved. And so did attendance. But negotiations on a new lease stalled. Kansas City was ready to give him a $1 a year lease, but they disagreed over the length. Finley wanted only 2 years, and the city wanted 4. With no lease, Finley once again tried to relocate, this time to Louisville, Kentucky, but the AL voted him down. Unable to get a fair lease, and unable to relocate, Finley threatened to move his Major League Baseball team to the rural town of Peculiar, Missouri. These antics were annoying the American League, and they gave him an ultimatum: either sign a new lease or sell the team. Finley decided to sue, to reinstate the lease that the previous city council tossed out in 1963. Because importantly, it had a clause that stated if attendance fell below 850,000, Finley could move the team. The city did not want that clause, as attendance had yet to even reach that mark in Finley's 3 years as owner. After a few court battles, Finley finally relented and signed the city's 4-year lease. Now stuck in Municipal Stadium, Finley decided to make some more changes, specifically as retaliation to the American League. He created the pennant porch, outfield seats designed to bring in Municipal Stadium's foul line to 296 feet. Why? Major League Baseball had a rule that no foul line could be less than 325 feet. Yankee Stadium was grandfathered into this rule, which allowed them to have the shortest foul line in baseball. So Finley created the pennant porch to directly mirror Yankee Stadium's outfield. But right at the foul line, it angled back to meet the minimum requirement. The A's, however, would return to the cellar in 1964, and attendance would fall once again. But stuck in Kansas City for 4 years, he did anything he could to drum up attendance. In 1964, the Beatles were in the middle of their first ever North American tour, but they did not have a stop in Kansas City. Finley paid the highest advance for a musical act at the time to have them play at Municipal Stadium. He signed a near 60-year-old Satchel Paige to pitch a game.
As old Satch poured a fast one in there.
And even though he hadn't pitched in the majors in 12 years, he still managed to shut out the Red Sox in his 3 innings. Yet with all these gimmicks, the A's still found themselves in last place, and fans began getting frustrated. Although they were pretty average on offense, they were awful on the mound. And Finley's lack of patience with managers certainly didn't help. After hiring multiple managers with little to no experience, his next hire would be for a proven winner. In 1966, Finley hired Alvin Dark. Dark took the Giants to the World Series in 1962 and had a winning season every year. But after making racist comments towards his own players, he was fired and unable to be a manager elsewhere. But Finley saw a proven winner, and Dark took the only job he could, a job no one else wanted. And in 1966, behind vastly improved pitching, the A's finished with their best record in 8 years, which skyrocketed attendance. So heading into the 1967 season, the hype around the A's were the highest it's been since the team first arrived in Kansas City. Built in 1923, Municipal Stadium was beginning to show its age. And with Finley's lease almost up, plus the new NFL requirement of each stadium having at least 50,000 seats, the city began proposals on a new sports complex. Their first proposal was a single-dome stadium downtown. But since Finley refused to share another stadium with the Chiefs, a second proposal was made, with two stadiums about 20 minutes east of the city. Owners Charlie Finley and Lamar Hunt signed off, and the proposal would be sent to voters in June of 1967. If the A's could just maintain their performance from a year ago, Finley would have his new baseball stadium. The A's would finish 1967 with their third last place finish in 4 years. Finley fired Al Dark in August over refusing to discipline his players. Then he hired his 7th manager in his 7th season as owner. In those 7 years, only expansion teams had a worse record than the A's. Attendance fell just slightly, but that was all Finley needed. His lease was now up. In October of 1967, 4 months after the city approved his new stadium, Finley officially sought relocation to Oakland, California. And after years of denying his requests, the AL was finally going to allow his move, because they wanted another team in California. And with the Angels in LA, Oakland was the perfect spot for the next one, which angered someone in Washington. Missouri's U.S. Senator Stuart Symington was one of the most powerful members of Congress, and he was furious the AL allowed Finley to move after he just signed off on the construction of a new stadium, threatening to remove Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption. But after pressure from both owners and the National League, the AL relented and granted Kansas City an expansion franchise, the Royals. And expanding in pairs, the Seattle Pilots also debuted. And with the NL trying to keep pace with the AL, they also expanded, with the San Diego Padres and the Montreal Expos. Finley's relocation essentially created 4 new baseball teams. In their 13 years, the Kansas City A's never had a record above 500. The Oakland A's, however, had one in their very first season. Then, when the Truman Sports Complex finally opened in 1972, the Oakland A's won the World Series. Then they won it again. And again. Oakland was gifted a dynasty. All Kansas City got was a Yankee farm team and an owner that couldn't get out of his own way. After the move, Symington would say that the loss of the A's was made up for finally getting rid of Finley. However, Kansas City would lose 2 more teams over similar disagreements. But the Royals would stay.
For the title.
And that's all Ernie Mel really wanted. When the A's first arrived in 1955, he said the important thing is that we've gone big league. And to go big league, you've got to take the best you can get.